one of the things about the climate of entrepreneurship being rewarded in Connecticut. A point was made to me when I had a meeting in New Haven running for governor with a group of people sitting around a dining room table, and one of the fellows was an MIT professor who had picked up and left MIT and joined the faculty of Yale and brought some number of people with him in doing that research function. And I said, well, what's the biggest difference from being at MIT and being at Yale? And he said, well, at MIT, people would walk up and down the building, you know, on a regular basis and ask what idea I had that they could invest in. And you know, it struck me, and that's why we're doing these things, is to try to figure out how do we get to a critical mass level where that just happens automatically. And you're absolutely right. We clearly are not at that critical mass yet. And if we continue to grow at the small rate that we've been growing, we may never get to critical mass before people just decide to leave. So how do we jump start that? And that's clearly the contest that we understand that we're in. And some of that may be reaching out to the investment community to create innovation funds just around Connecticut. And one of the nice things about having such a large part of the fire industries is that there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines right now. And you know, a very, very small percentage, you know, a hundredth of a percent put into Connecticut quickly could have a profound difference. Make a profound difference.
So I'd like to introduce you to Mark Schneider, who represents the Angel Investor Forum, Golden Seeds, and New York Angels, and has an idea.
And I've got a comment following up on that.
Sure.
As said, I do both angel investing in Connecticut, AIF and New York Angels, and I have taken advantage of or participated in companies that are taking advantage of the tax credit or the ES tax credit. Unfortunately, there's a company in Connecticut, and I'm talking to my New York friends, they can't take advantage of that. So, this is found money for the state of Connecticut to encourage them to invest in this. Anything that you can do to make that transferable, or in any way so that somebody who's not already fired, I don't know whether it's worth going to the extreme that in Maryland, I believe there is actually refundable. So I, as an investor, could get money back from the state of Maryland. Haven't seen it do that, but certainly cross-border, there's money that could flow into Connecticut to take advantage, if it could take advantage of the same programs that we already offer. So,
Great.
Sir?
Yes.
With all due respect, Governor, I disagree with what you stated a moment ago, that the critical mass is not here. I think the critical mass is here. I think the cultural change is what's necessary, because if you look around the table from the venture moms and former leader of a multinational corporation, former leader of one of the top branding and marketing groups in the world, just at this forum here, and these are people that are bringing their skill sets and their knowledge to help make Connecticut a successful place. The critical mass is here.
I wasn't talking about numbers of entities. I was talking about the ecosystem, the ecosystem.
And
that's
so,
what I was talking about.
Yeah, yeah. The cultural change, if you had to kind of create a paradigm, the Industrial Revolution that was successfully launched in large part here, placement of parts, manufacturing, that's a linear model. It's a linear system, kind of like what media went through in the last 25 years, where you have the ABC, CBS, NBC, that they control the pipeline. And so what do you have? You have long lead times, and you have massive scale required and capital necessary to build the scale in order to deliver into the distribution channel. Well, today, the model is different. And what used to be a very proactive model, plan years in advance, amass the capital and get into the distribution channels with the power of a producer that's one of an oligopoly. It's a very reactive model today, as we've seen in media, as what's happened. And so you have to get it very short lead time into the marketplace, test it, try. You have to change, you have to pivot on a dime, your product may have to change, your whole business strategy may have to change. And you have to be able to do what the market is telling you because you have so much more access to market feedback. The capital required to do that, especially in software and in digital media, is not as high. You don't need that much. So the cultural change that facilitates that is very different than what has been here in the state of Connecticut, which is this, very system-centric, comes from the top, whether it's insurance products or whether it's manufactured products. The long lead times, those are reflected in the political structures that exist, as well as in the academic structures that exist. I studied at Yale, and I was actually part of their tech transfer office, and I saw the good work that some of the people were trying to do there. John Soderstrom and Greg Gardner before him were trying to modernize that whole thinking. What I think as entrepreneurs, what we need, because I really believe the critical mass is here, it's available. The knowledge capital is available. The human capital and the actual financial capital is available. We need an ombudsman that can help peer-to-peer plug us and put us together, the ones that are willing to help each other out. Because we're talking about standing on each other's shoulders, and that's hard to do without coordination. And I heard a name drop before, Kip. I don't know who that is. Maybe that is an ombudsman from a DECD perspective. If not, would love to know who that is or what that, from a centralized perspective. I know you can't throw out the linear model and overnight transform to a much more reactionary, let's get the resources where they need to be in a SWAT team type of fashion. Some of the programs that I know, the good programs that exist at DECD that we've learned about through Georgia Norfleet, as my partner mentioned earlier, if we would have known about them sooner, we raised some money to bring it to the state of Connecticut, and we didn't know about all the matching programs and this. We raised the money anyways. We would have benefited more if we had, if there was somebody we could have called and we said, hey, here's what we're doing. And that person was an expert and said, okay, based on that, you automatically qualify for this, do this, etc. We've had help. Patty has been an enormous help. Constantine has been a help. Some old friends that have been promoting Stamford for a long time, Bruce and Kevin, have been an enormous help. But something centralized from your offices, Commissioner, whereby we can go to your offices and we can say, okay, we just closed the round, we raised $50,000 or $100,000, this is our plan, etc. Who are we supposed to talk to? And then cutting through the red tape to make sure that because the Ombudsman has said, please take this incoming call, we can get in front of the right people quickly and we can actually, because you have all these different buckets of capital and these programs and they're set up for a specific reason, and the entrepreneurial need, it might be different. So how can we work together to react to what the need is, to reflect what's going on in the marketplace?
No, I think those are all, bang up thoughts. And by the way, I don't have to feel defensive. I've only had this job for 8 months, so I'm trying to jumpstart it against unbelievable odds. I mean, the lack of technology investment in state government prevents us from doing things currently that we want to do.
And you did it here at Stamford.
And we did it here at Stamford. And I frequently say that 2 years after being mayor of Stamford, I look at the technology that's available in Connecticut state government, and it's about 10 years behind where we are. So it's this, we finally got a great guy to lead our technology modernization effort. We have a Department of Technology was called Do It, which was so ridiculous because they really saw their mission as making sure that no one did it. As opposed to bringing the right technology. So, but you're absolutely spot on. I will say that this is also a very exciting time because not only did we reorganize the education of the regional universities and community colleges, a work in progress, the name up ahead of that, but we have a new president at UConn who is dynamic. And she posted a vice president's position for economic development. So, clearly they're going to see that as their mission. And what's interesting is we've gone around this table and discussed education needs and other needs, and not once have we actually talked about UConn Stanford, which brings me to the point where I told her either they change their approach to UConn Stanford or they should give it to Central or Southern and let somebody else take the model and make it work for the industries that we're trying to attract to this part of the state. She assures me that they're going to have a very different approach to growing that program. But you're spot on.
So who could we count on from your offices
Well,
to facilitate an introduction to the president of UConn's, and we're based in Stamford, and we'll work with them.
I've actually had a series of these meetings well before June when I started the road trip. So you folks have been in my office several times already. Having said that, I think Catherine's in putting that effort together, and I think that will be part of what we roll out later this fall.
Excellent.
And part of that, quite frankly, should be, a lot of that information simply should be easily available to you, and it's not currently easily available. Most of what you need to learn from us, you shouldn't have to learn from a person. But then you should look for the connections to be made by a person.
Even like the voter registrar suggestion that you made, that was brilliant, focusing attention on a certain person's meeting.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that we can use to help each other.
So Patty, I'm going to get you guys a minute. Patty knows how to reach me, but also DECD.org, there's a whole bunch of information on it. It's not beautiful yet.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
But it is there.
Okay.
And then you can also email me on Catherine with c.smith@ct.gov.
I would make one suggestion as you're building a website, because we spent most of our time on the user experience. Before you release anything to the public, have you, your family, your friends, people you know, use it before you release
Absolutely.
it. Because IT people are not they're smart, nothing against them, but user experience creation is really an art, and it makes or breaks getting information.
I would just add to one thing that we said before when you refer to people around the table and said this is our sweet spot, and to pony on to the back of what you said about information technology, digital media, and stuff like that. But then I think we need people in government that talk our talk. I mean, I call Connecticut Innovations, and the person I talk to doesn't even have a smartphone. How is she supposed to relate when I talk about buying things off a mobile device quickly and easily? And she's the one I have to go through to process my application. We need new blood. I mean, there's somebody on the attendee list that 15 years ago when I moved to the state and I started getting involved in the venture community is still here. I'm like, really? Isn't he dead yet? Like, you get younger people.
I can do a lot of things.
Well, I mean, but that same person is in the same role, and does he have a smartphone? Is that going to help me? So I think we need new blood, and we need to really focus on the young people coming out of school, as well as attracting younger people, because I'm no spring chicken either, but younger people into the state who can invest money and work at our companies.
I was actually going to disagree with you and agree with you. I'm a marketing guy, and I think the branding campaign actually is important. When I think of the word Connecticut, I think connected, and I think that's kind of what we're talking about is that general idea, not only connected from a digital standpoint, which I think is important, but also, just we really, literally couldn't be more connected if you think about Boston and New York. It's kind of a layup.
Something else I'd like to pick up on this whole UConn thing. I mean, we referred to Austin's success. I can assure you Austin's success has got nothing to do with Rick Perry's record number of minimum wage jobs. It is the University of Texas of 50,000 undergraduates. Silicon Valley is Stanford and UC Berkeley. And, what happens here is there isn't that. I mean, there's the little...
Well, we got that little Yale thing going on.
Well, but Yale is not driven by technology, which these guys are. But again, that ethos of starting businesses. And I think that is a critical piece of the infrastructure. I mean, I have young kids. I have a 25-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter who's at UConn. My son went to McGill, came back here because he grew up in Connecticut, wanted to be here. He's got a job, but he said, to advance, I'm going to have to leave Connecticut. I'm going to have to go to Silicon Valley or to New York. My daughter, she graduates a year saying, I'm probably not going to stay in Connecticut because there isn't a job I'm interested in Connecticut. And I think a lot of people are in that situation. And I think the university can help drive that through the startups and
No,
tech parks and
listen,
so.
not to this industry, but at UConn Medical Center, we're making a massive investment to make sure we don't lose on the bioscience and life science where we've recently lost. It's not about bed replacement in the hospital, it's about the creation of 50 new fully staffed modern laboratories. It's about wet labs, and we understand that. What we're trying to do is make sure we understand this.
Well, I'm really happy to hear this about Stanford, and I just want to share that over the weekend, because the word was kind of getting out, Danny reconnected me with the dean of the engineering school, who emailed me over the weekend and said, I really want to come down and see what you're doing, and please know that we are dedicated to making a more robust program here at the UConn campus. So I think it's moving in the right direction. Yes.
That's great to hear. Should I try to hire an intern?
Yeah, yeah. I know we're going to do a couple things. Go ahead. No, you tried to hire a guy from UConn.
I tried to hire an intern, and I couldn't because they wouldn't post my job. It kept sending me emails and sending me to like 5 different people.
And they don't even know you when they wouldn't do that. You also might want to reach out to Norwalk.
Well, I'll tell you, we try to get interns from Norwalk,
Yeah.
and we offered great opportunities, and we couldn't get anybody to sign up.
We're going to help you with that.
There you go. Okay,
Well,
There's somebody in the
back here.
back. Hold on.
I just want to introduce myself. My name is Casey Pickett. I work for Kip Bergstrom, specifically on the development of the entrepreneurship ecosystem.
What kind of phone do you have? I didn't know.
I'd love to follow up with
I was about to fire
everyone
him.
how to make the system work better here in Connecticut.
So how do they get a hold of you?
We can follow up after, but my email address is csrpickett@gmail.
So Kip Bergstrom's like the innovation czar.
Yeah. Well,
With Casey.
also, I want to say that if it wasn't for Patty, none of this would happen. So
Yes.
I want to thank her. I've been there on the sidelines, so I'm the entrepreneur in residence at the Stamford Center for Innovation. So without Patty, this wouldn't happen.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go in a couple of minutes. I don't know if you got a little bit more time, but I have to go.
So I'd like to just leave you with a thought then. These centers are your front doors to your jobs. These are the ones where the rubber hits the road. It's very hard, and Patty will testify, to get these started in an all-private scenario. Patty's done wonders here, but it's really so slow to do that. A little bit of money, $250,000, $500,000 a year, gets these things right. But this is your front door. And so when people start talking about centralized government, I don't think they're really talking about centralized. What they need is to have interconnected these nodes where the students are, where the innovation is and everything. This is your front door.
Patty and I started talking about a year ago. I was running for government.
That wasn't 10 years ago?
No, it wasn't. It seems like that for me. Actually, I was charmed that you thought I had friends. But you know, we had a conversation up in Norwalk,
Mission Point.
right at Mission Point, and then you've been to my office a couple of times since then, and so we're actually doing things, you know, or at least trying to do things. But I feel good about it. I've got to go because I've got to get back up to Hartford, but I really appreciate the opportunity to hear from you. You're being helpful. We're hearing what we need to hear. We're trying to make Connecticut's government evolve very rapidly to the point where it pays a significant greater attention to the points that you're all raising. So I personally really appreciate it, but I've got to get on the road. So and it took a little while to get here. So I'm gonna leave Catherine, and thank you all very much.